Welcome back to another edition of TNT Points of View. How's it going, Tim?
Not too bad, Tom. How are you?
Not too bad. It's been an interesting
Uh,
election season, that's for sure. Um,
I still
and
wanted to title this one 2020. Oh, no.
and
Election.
I know,
Here we
I,
go.
I know, I like the title. It's just too long.
Come on.
I know. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe another world. But this is season 0. We're starting season 0 as a pilot
Season
season.
0. It's our pilot season.
And this is episode 3. Of course, we did the introduction, then we did the legalization, decriminalization type stuff.
Yes,
And
yes. Welcome back to our very first thing.
that's
Okay,
right.
let's
Welcome back
go.
to our very first show. So we are going to be covering the election stuff. Of course, I did vote for Trump, and you voted for
I didn't vote for anybody. I voted against Trump.
against Trump. I think that that's where we see a lot of the people who didn't necessarily vote for Trump were more voting against Trump rather than for Biden. Did anybody actually legitimately want to vote for Biden?
No,
What's your
people
thoughts?
legitimately wanted to vote for Bernie Sanders, but they wanted to vote for Bernie Sanders in 2016. We got Hillary Clinton jammed down our throats by the DNC.
Yeah.
I, as an independent, I can't vote in the primaries in Pennsylvania. Otherwise, I would have.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of disenfranchisement for
I would
registered
agree.
voters
I would agree.
overall. So basically,
Mhm.
it just shoves us into a two-party system no matter what we want to do, because now you're an independent voter. You can't
Yeah.
vote here. Why? I'm an American.
Yeah.
Um,
I think we will actually have a point of agreement on this one here. Let me know if you're correct. We need to completely abolish the two-party system, and
yes.
whoever gets the best votes gets in. Because right now it's like, okay, sure, you can vote for the Libertarian or the Green Party or whatever. Did you know he didn't make it as far as the primaries, but did you know there was a transhumanist candidate? His idea is we want to preserve our consciousness inside of technology and then resurrect ourselves into AI robots in the future. And I'm pretty sure that his presidential run was simply to build some stuff. He actually toured around the country in a big coffin-shaped bus. You can look this guy up. I can't remember his name. It's like,
And
what
he
the
didn't
hell?
make it through the primaries. You're
Correct.
kidding.
I know. And so,
I
so
can't possibly
I
believe
know.
that he didn't make it
I
through the
know, right?
primaries.
But
Wow. I mean,
the
I'm an
way our
open-minded guy, but hi. Let's
yeah,
dial it back
greetings.
to reality here.
Greetings. So right now we have two massive superpowers of money, the RNC and the DNC. Um,
Exactly.
and then you have everybody else vying to get in who have zero chance,
Not against
whatsoever.
how far slanted it is in a two-party system at
Correct,
this point.
correct. And that's
No,
that's the biggest problem. So this year we literally did have an election for Trump or against Trump, and that's really what it was.
basically.
Nobody's excited about that. Nobody's really excited about Bernie Sanders. For God's sake, no one's excited about Kamala Harris. That is
Lots of
just, I
people,
mean,
I disagree, though. Lots of people were excited for Bernie Sanders. They just got screwed out of it twice.
well, I didn't say anything about Bernie Sanders.
You
I think
totally
that there
just
were. I think that there were some people. I said Kamala Harris, for the vice presidential. I, I don't know if Bernie Sanders would win the presidency, although I will agree more people were interested in voting for Bernie than were interested in voting for Biden. However, I still don't think he would have had a chance of making it, and that's probably why they keep on snowballing him because he's just still too radical for many people.
That's
Um,
just crazy, though.
well,
But
maybe not. We don't want to debate the merits of that today. Maybe another day.
maybe another
But
day.
what we do want to do is we want to talk about the 2020 election. We want to have some various discussions here, and regardless of what ends up happening, I think that we're in for an interesting show. So, what's your
Yeah.
general first take? And do we want to dive right into the articles first? Or do you want to say anything first?
Uh, General first take on the election results,
Yeah, just in general.
just in general on the election. Well, in general, in the election, I would say the best we could do. These were the two best people that we could have put up for the American presidency.
Yeah, God help us all.
God help us all. Also, I would also like to put up that I don't think we should have vice presidents,
Mhm.
like vice presidential running mates, because if those were the two best people that we had to run the country, shouldn't one of them be the vice president? It would probably make for a cleaner election.
Yeah, I mean,
Whoever
actually,
wins is the president. Whoever is the second is the vice president, and that's the way it goes down. I think that's the only way that it could possibly balance out the two-party system.
that's actually an interesting take. That's actually not too much unlike what happened in the, I believe it's the second or third presidency
I
in
want
the
to say
country.
it was early. I want to say it was like Buchanan or something like not.
No, we're going back earlier than that. We're going Adams and
Yeah, that
Jefferson.
I said the wrong guy.
Yeah.
Not Buchanan. Somebody else with a B.
Oh no. We're talking
Yeah,
the
right.
president right after George Washington.
Yeah.
All right.
So it was,
and that's
was it
exactly
Adams?
what you described is exactly what happened. You had the two biggest forerunners for the presidency. One of them got the presidency, and then the other one was installed as the vice president. That's exactly what happened.
Should happen all the time.
And they were different parties. They were two different political parties, and that's the type of thing that would
Frankly,
be a good
I think
thing.
the Republicans and the Democrats should both go the way of the bullwigs.
Sure, I will. We will have common ground.
Get
right
them
there.
out of here.
But I think what we want to talk about today is it possible to say who won at this point in time, and what is the general case? So that's kind of where we're kind of arguing from.
I think it's solid in Biden's court.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's legitimately solid in Biden's court?
I believe it's legitimately solid in Biden's court.
Yeah. I'm going to completely disagree. I still think it's in Biden's court, but I don't think it's legitimately in Biden's court.
I don't think it's legitimately in any of them's court.
I disagree because whenever Joe Biden did a campaign rally, there was him, his staff, 3 or 4 media people, and the couple homeless guys who came for the hot dogs.
Yeah.
When Trump held a rally, it was 10 miles of cars. You can't even possibly tell me that Trump did not win it by a landslide.
I have severe doubts.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's get into
talking about people in the middle of a pandemic said, let's go to the COVID party.
Well, we're going to discuss COVID in the next show, so I'm not going to comment on that. But
I think it played a very heavy part in this election. Because
maybe
most of the people who are definitely not going to the Trump rallies are probably mail-in voting. And they're probably not going to a rally either because they don't want to get sick and die.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, okay. I'll throw out this one here. I got news for you. COVID is not going to get you sick and die unless you're an 85-year-old geriatrics patient in a nursing home.
Or you have an underlying condition.
No, it's not or. It's and. That's what the statistics show us. But again, we're covering COVID in another show. So let's leave that one on the table for now. All right. So you sent me this one here, Brennan Center for Justice. And so this is looking at debunking voter fraud myth. Do you want to mention anything about this specifically?
Specifically, I didn't really have anything to mention except you had sent me a bunch of articles about voter fraud.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's the voter fraud myth. So I read through this too, in addition to the other ones that you sent me. Mm-hmm. But frankly, I think the numbers are just about right. It's not as prevalent as being blitzed all over whoever will listen.
Mm-hmm. Well, so my argument from this is as such. All right. When you are trying to steal an election, you don't go in and blitz the whole country. It becomes too obvious. You do it in a couple small jurisdictions scattered only in a couple of key states. The reason you do it that way is, I'm not sure if you know much about how the law system works, state to state, interstate, and things like this. But what happens is you can't go in and say, we're going to open a big case across multiple states, because that's not the way the court system is designed.
Right.
All right. And so what you do is you just take a few key places. So like if you look at Pennsylvania, for example, Pennsylvania was very clearly in Trump's court. And if you leave the big city centers, you see nothing but Trump signs. Every jurisdiction outside of a big city center went so clearly red, it's not even funny. And even in the other, even in some of the cities, a few of the cities still they were a lot closer to 50-50. And then somehow at 4 a.m, when the only people that were left is a couple of radical guys in the voting booth, boom, huge spikes happened. That happened in Philadelphia. It happened in Atlanta. And whichever one Wayne County is, I think in Michigan. I forget which city that one is.
All right,
Detroit,
let's take it right there. And we're going to say, think about this though.
Mm-hmm.
Pennsylvania, they had laws written by the Republicans that they could not start counting in mail-in ballots until election day.
Correct.
So of course it went that way.
Not
not
necessarily.
Voted.
No. Well, more people may have mail-in voted
in person on election day were definitely Republican.
Well, maybe not. Maybe not. Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Even the people who were Republican,
no, not necessarily.
Possibly with those mail-in votes said, screw this guy.
No,
it's entirely possible that he's just
let's go ahead and
let's go ahead
and have a look at your article here. All right. So debunking voter fraud myth. Okay. Debunking voter fraud myth. Okay. Here's the first problem that we have with this. Are these a whole lot of studies?
Don't know. Didn't go into those.
Yeah. Okay. Just hover over the post. Washington Post.
If it's Washington Post, I generally ignore it.
Voting rights. Yeah. Did you know over half of this is Washington Post? Washington Post. Here's a Dartmouth research study. This was 2016 election. So a lot of this is in the past. This is not evaluating anything now. Half of this, not all of it's like this one's a Harvard study. This one is libertypub.com. This one is Sage Pub. This one is a government group. Here's a NewYorker.com, votingrights.news, votingrights.news21.com.
I don't know who those ones are.
Yeah, Huffington Post. There's a real winner right there. NBC News, Brennan Center. That's this group here. They're quoting themselves a lot, of course.
Well, as
Brennan
they do.
Center. Here's electionlawblog.org.
Don't know who that is.
There's
ACLU, I'm familiar.
Yeah, ACLU. Cornell Law, we can probably trust that one. New York Times. Washington Post. KansasCity.com, opinion editorials. Okay, that's an editorial. Okay, so my point is that reading through this is not a super valid thing. But the other thing, if you read it, they're looking specifically at the case of voter fraud, somebody showing up to a poll place in person and voting in somebody else's name. That's exactly what they're saying.
Okay.
Now, none of the alleged voter fraud that we're looking at in 2020 is this case. What we're saying is that because of mail-in ballots and because it was put in the way it was, which, by the way, seems to be unconstitutional on a federal and, in some cases, state level, doing that allowed people to just send out mass ballots.
People have been able to mail in ballot for years.
Okay, but what is the difference between how they mailed them in before and how they mailed them in this time?
What's the difference? The number.
Correct. No, it's not. It's not the number. Okay, the difference.
The sheer volume.
No, that is not the case, because there's a difference between an absentee ballot and mailing in ballot. Here's your difference. In absentee ballot, you have to have a reason. Then you have to validate an ID. You have to apply for it, put a signature card on file with the state. Same thing you do at your bank. You go through, get the ballot, and then you will fill it in the. You fill in the ballot. You put a signature card on top of the ballot, and then you mail that in. So then what they do is they check the ballot signature against the card signature. They remove the ballot. Once that's validated, they discard the signature ballot so that they can't see who you voted for, and then will put this in the list. That is how absentee ballots go. Mail-in ballots,
because I went and voted in person.
Doesn't work that way.
I went and voted in person. If you go right now, if you look at my signature versus what I actually signed, like my signature that they have on file, which is off of my license, which I signed very neatly, it doesn't look a single freaking thing.
No,
like
but
my
here's the
ID,
thing.
or like
They're
my
not
thing.
comparing it to your license. When you fill out an absentee ballot, you give them a valid signature card at the time you request the ballot.
Okay.
And then you will still fill in the other ballot. This is
Okay.
not the same process that you used for the mail-in ballots that was used.
And what was the process for the mail-in ballots? Because Kristen did one, she had to fill out all kinds of things with
Correct.
her ID.
Correct. Yes. And the difference is the way that they collect the information, where it's at, and how it is. Now, did she fill out an absentee specifically, or did she do one of the newer mail-in?
The new mail-in, and she had to
ID.
use her ID.
Okay. All right. So that is fine, and that is good. And again, different jurisdictions are treating it different ways. So I can't comment on all that. But what we do have is a lot of evidence of people going in and bringing in carts of these allegedly verified signature ballots that nobody has any evidence they were verified. But that didn't happen everywhere. It only happened in, I think, 5 cities. But that 5 cities was enough to push 5 states over a popular vote line.
Yeah. But if you take those 5 cities and add up the entire population of those 5 cities with the rest of the rural population, there's more people.
Yeah, and that's certainly an issue. But did you know some of those cities had a 200 and 300% voter turnout?
That's a double counting, and it's probably happening on both sides.
No, it's not. That's the funny thing. It's not. No.
It's just happening for Biden. All of this is
on a wide scale.
For Biden.
Yes, and if you watch that hour-long video I sent you, that's one of the things that he shows in fine detail.
At this point, haven't 56 cases been thrown out of court?
Okay,
no evidence.
No, none. That is not correct. That is not true. Donald Trump only has filed 4. Only filed 4. A lot of other people are filing cases. A lot of the other cases that have nothing to do with Trump's call for victory, a lot of those have been thrown out. Yes, that is true.
So who's filing these?
Various people. So the Sidney Powell one, she's just an independent citizen. She filed them. There's several different organizations. The latest one right now is actually one filed by Texas, which as of today, just this afternoon, I think 8 other states, either 7 or 8 other states jumped on that one with them. And so what they are alleging is that the constitutional method for mail-in ballots was not properly followed. And this
so why not just do a revote?
Well, that's kind of what they're saying is we need to do something, possibly including throwing out a lot of the mail-in stuff and do these again in person.
Why don't we just throw it all out, everybody mail in, and we do it?
Well, you don't want to do everybody mail in. That would get you the same problem. That's exactly the thing that got us into.
Well, if we know what the problem is in the first place, then we can fix the problem. We can do it all mail in.
Yeah, no, because the problem is mail in. That is the problem.
Fix the problem. What's the problem?
Yeah. The problem is mail-in ballots. The solution is to go to the ballots, go to the poll and vote in person. That's what the fix is.
Well, then do that. And I bet it's still a landslide.
Fine. No, yeah, it'll be a landslide for Trump is what it'll be.
I have my doubts. It's entirely possible that the reason that Joe Biden won is simply because he just got more votes.
No, that's not what the data shows. We'll get into that in a bit. Let's look at your second article. Disputing Trump, Barr says no widespread election fraud. All right. So the biggest challenge with this is that the Department of Justice didn't actually do an investigation.
The Department of Justice, I don't think, has done an actual investigation in like 20 years.
Correct. And so that's actually what Trump is saying too. Yeah, nobody's doing an investigation. And so for the Attorney General come out after no investigation, say there's no evidence of widespread election fraud. Well, this is like you calling the police and saying somebody broke into my house and they come in. Oh, hold on. I'm not done with my point. All right. So somebody breaks in your house. You call the police. They never show up and issue a statement saying there's no evidence of anything. I'm like, wait, what?
That's funny because my house did get broken into in North Carolina. The cops showed up and they still said we were lying to them.
Yeah. With or without a big investigation. Yeah.
No big investigation. They just thought we weren't telling the truth. They thought we were trying to file insurance claim.
And that would be what Barr's position is right here. Now, another point is that the Department of Justice has actually come out and disputed this article as well, because he didn't say there is no, he said we have not yet seen evidence and we are still investigating. So they jumped on this. The reason they jumped on this is...
The reason that any of them jump on anything is because of a sensational headline.
Well...
And that's it. That's why I don't listen to the news very much.
Possibly.
Most of the time, they're just trying to grab the detention so that they can get the advertising money. Also, you need to turn on your ad blocker.
Not on this system. So the point I want to make here is that the media is jumping all over this. And this is one of the problems with a lot of the articles that we find, because all of these, so like even the last article we'll look at here, he jumps down and says, despite Biden already winning the election, I'm sorry, the AP doesn't call elections. Who is the one who calls elections?
All of the media for the last 30 years?
No. Who is the one who officially calls an election?
The poll workers.
No.
The officials.
You need to go back and study your government a little bit more.
Yeah.
The Electoral College is the one who calls the election. And the Electoral College... The Electoral College has not met yet. The Electoral College meets December 14th. So for all of the media running around, and saying Joe Biden won the election, every one of them is full of bullshit. Okay? Because they don't call the election.
Well, then that's
the Electoral College calls.
Because we're going to see what happens in 6 days.
Yes.
And in 6 days, I have a feeling it's going to go to Biden.
Maybe, maybe not. But what I'm arguing is that whether or not it goes to Biden, I'm arguing that there is sufficient evidence for voter fraud. And whatever that means, we need to address it. Because if there is voter fraud and we let them get away with it without exposing it and without anything else, we will never have a fair election again. The first time you let that cat
fair elections for years.
Maybe, maybe not.
I'm going to go with, if you call out gerrymandering, tampering with the U.S. Postal Service.
Sure.
Neither of these are fair practices.
That's fine. I mean, I'll agree with you on that principle.
I would also argue
regardless though, hold on. I'm making a point.
Okay.
While I agree with you, gerrymandering is certainly a problem. Nevertheless, when we have an abundance of people showing up to the polls, the election tends to be more fair than when people just cast in ballots randomly.
Well, then I'd say run another election. Everybody has to go in person.
Sure.
But you're going to kill people probably.
No, you're not. You're not going to kill anybody.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of old people that vote.
Well, that's exactly why we have an absentee ballot system, but the absentee ballot system is completely different from mail-in balloting.
Well, then why doesn't everybody just use the absentee ballot system instead of the mail-in ballot system?
Because the reason it works is because it's not excessively used. Absentee balloting is supposed to be for people who are, stuck in a nursing home or overseas serving the military or have some other reason
locked down
why
in
they
their
can't.
house.
Yeah, that has entirely to do because of government tyranny. It has nothing to do with anything else. All right. Once again, we'll get to that. So, and I'm going to skip one of my ones there.
You could probably skip the Stone Cold Truth because I won't believe anything Roger Stone has to say.
Well, I mean, I don't believe anything Politico has to say.
It's okay. You can skip that one too.
All right, we'll go ahead and go ahead and have a look at the one that you wanted to dispute. This is the one where I have
problems with.
All right,
because
your list of problems is what on this article?
My first list of problems is there's no author.
Okay,
and if there's no author, then I don't know who is saying what. It could be anybody. It could
All right.
be a robot for all I know.
Sure.
It could be anything. Now, regardless, this reads like an opinion piece that has some data charts popped into it.
Okay.
And this guy can argue all he wants. If you go down here, I've argued that voter concern is very common.
Sure.
Well, I would argue that until the early 80s, mid 80s, cigarettes were safe. So it turns out just because it's argued doesn't mean it's true.
Okay, so the question is, how are cigarettes no longer considered safe?
They're not considered safe.
Why?
Because of scientific evidence.
Sure. Evidence is the key word. Now, the question is
but
good.
Up until they stopped, the money stopped flowing in, or not the money stopped flowing in, up until it was very hard to cover up because the money was still flowing in from the tobacco industries. That's why cigarettes were still okay. And now they're not.
All right. So evidence is what changed that tie, right? So he can make an argument. If this was an entire opinion piece, I would completely agree. The problem is that he gave us excessive amounts of evidence.
Readily, if he would put his name on it. I wrote this. My name is Todd.
Okay. I don't care because some people want to do things anonymously to distract away from it. The question is, where is he linking to? So here's a voter fraud map he's linking to. This is heritage.org. So you can look up heritage.org. And if you click on an individual state, these are confirmed criminal conviction cases of voter fraud.
How many?
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 20, about 25-ish or so going back to 1998.
Out of how many voters?
How many voters?
Out of how many voters?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're not necessarily logging your voters, I would say. The point is that they're collecting real data about it. And if you want to ignore the real data and just say, this whole site is dead because he didn't put his name on it, that's a ridiculous argument because he puts data into his argument. I'm not saying that
it does not happen. I'm saying that it doesn't happen in big enough numbers to sway an election.
I will disagree. And we're going to go through why I disagree. So 15 election results that were thrown out because that's because they're all linked in here. Every one of these are linked in the article. This is why I don't care he doesn't have his name on it. He has good information in it. Okay, so this is 15 election results that were thrown out because of mail fraudulent ballots.
How many?
15 elections.
Okay.
Okay. This one is from Newsweek, not necessarily a place I'd go to for my news, but voter fraud is a real concern. And this one looks at various cases around the world. Again, I didn't read all of these because these are linked in. Error and fraud as absentee voter rises. This is from 2012. So the point is that there is an evidence to be made from going back and looking at the data. And this is where he looks at. And he's starting to look at some of the cases that we see down here. So ballot returned date and mean ballot mail date. So this one here is to your point here. Of course, the blue is your Democratic. Your red is your Republican. Now, to your point where you say, yes, the Republicans showed up to the vote, but the Democrats mailed in. While that may be true, the problem is 200
it's also entirely
300,
possible.
Hold on. 200 to 300% of those people mailed in ballots. Does that not raise a reason to at least audit the election?
No.
Why? 200. Okay,
200%.
That means if your city, if your jurisdiction has 1 million people living in it and 2 million ballots were cast, you're telling me we shouldn't investigate that?
How did 2 million ballots get cast?
That is what needs to be investigated because the evidence is very clear.
Well, then I would
200% in many of these
around and actually get the numbers. Because if you're saying, hey, 200%,
Okay. Do
Two.
you know what it takes? What does it take to
If you
recount
have
that?
one
Stop.
and two,
What does it
two
take
is
to
200%
recount
of
that?
one.
What does
Huh?
it take to recount the vote?
The will to do so and the money
No.
to do so.
No.
Do
A
it.
court case is what's required to recount the vote. That is
That's
why they
great.
have court cases.
Well, their court cases keep getting thrown out for no
No, they're
evidence.
not. No, they're
We'll-
not. They have
we'll see
filed
it in
4 court
6
cases,
days.
and I don't know if any of them have been thrown out.
Well, then we'll see as soon as they get thrown out or not thrown out. If they have merit, they won't get thrown out. If
Okay.
they don't have merit, they will get thrown out.
Here's the point. Why so much hostility towards auditing the election from the party who's told us for the last 4 years we've had an illegitimate election? Now they want to say there is no illegitimacy. Biden is president. Deal with it.
Didn't they say the same thing in 2016? There was no illegitimacy. Trump is president. Just deal with it.
No, they didn't. Actually,
I'm pretty sure they did.
no, they didn't actually.
Either way, I don't
okay.
care because I'm not a Democrat.
Okay.
I don't give a crap.
Mail-in ballots requested. So actually, more mail-in ballots were requested among Republicans than in Democrats.
And he still lost?
Somehow, though, all of the mail-in ballots went Democrat. Very interesting.
Is it entirely possible that the ballots cast by the Republicans, they voted Democrat on purpose just because they don't like Trump?
No, that's not the case because most Republicans don't dislike
So you're saying
Trump.
everybody likes Trump?
No. I'm saying the majority of
You're
Republicans.
saying all the Republicans like Trump.
I am saying the majority
like
of
Trump.
Republicans are on board with Trump. Yes,
I would say the majority of Republicans are more on board with Jesus, and less on board with somebody who's had 3 wives and 5 children.
No, I would completely disagree with that. The Republican Party has shifted far away from the various elements of the church. Far away.
How far?
We're talking pretty far. You will still find a lot of the Christians in the Republican Party for the reason we mentioned. It's Republican or nothing. But at the same token, what you don't find is a lot of as much overlap.
Politics and religion are mechanisms of control to keep your
Possibly.
butt in line and keep going to work for the rich guy.
So here is a list of charts from Milwaukee. Voting Ward. In Voting Ward 274, they had a 202% turnout. 53% of that went to Biden. 273, they had a 201% turnout. 53% went to Biden. Here's 125%. Here's 117%. Now, do you know what the average voter turnout is in an election?
Not that much. It's only like a third of the country.
Yeah, it's on presidential years, it's about 65%. Non-presidential years, closer to 30, 35. So here you're telling me that in several jurisdictions in Milwaukee, they had a 98 to 202% voter turnout. This is why
98 to 202% voter turnout based on population or based on the average year?
No, this is based on the actual population, and I can't remember if this is actual number. I can't remember if this is the actual number of registered voters or if this is the actual population. I think it's based on the number of registered voters.
Okay, so more people just went to the polls and just voted, or more people just mailed in votes, or people got like 3 or 4 different votes. Who would go to the trouble? It would have to be like a giant think tank with a ton of money. So follow the money. Where'd the money go?
And that is exactly what is being alleged. But here's what you have to understand. In the legal system, I can't say that we have a giant, pack with all this money in it because they operated in this state and 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 this state. You can't do that in the American legal system.
Doesn't it sound like we should, for that very reason, get rid of PACs altogether?
Well, this is exactly why Texas has filed the lawsuit on the federal level across state lines. This is where most of these cases have failed, is because they're going in the state. And then while many of them are getting thrown out, they're not necessarily thrown out on appeals. And so what's going on is you go into the state and then the district court judge who wants the election to stay as is, he just throws it out. This is why you need to bypass the appointed judges by the governors and the people in control and go up to the Supreme Court. That's what the Texas lawsuit did. So I think it was today. The Pennsylvania case, the Supreme Court said they're not going to hear the Pennsylvania case. People said, oh, great victory. No, maybe they said we're not going to hear it because the Texas case would look at the same thing on multiple states rather than a single state.
Okay,
and
so what's the holdup?
Well, the holdup is that the case is new, and the Supreme Court needs time to look at it to determine if they're going to take the case or not. That's the problem. That's what's at the crux of all this, is we have all sorts of charts like this one we've seen in Milwaukee, and all we're saying is we would like to audit this, but the people in the states are going, oh, no, we're going to run ahead and certify the election. We're saying there's irregularities enough to investigate. That's all we're asking for, is an investigation.
Well, then investigate. Go.
Well, yeah, we're trying to. We're being blocked from investigating.
By whom?
The people who did it to begin with. That's the problem.
It sounds like you're being blocked by the press.
No, well, I mean, yeah, the press is one of them, because the press is running around screaming about
opinion.
Biden. What's that?
Said you're being blocked by the court of popular opinion.
Well, maybe.
And
maybe
sensational
not.
Headlines.
Maybe not.
I'm going to go ahead and call this for Biden anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to.
Then he already won it.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to make a comment as to that. I have encountered people who believe that Trump will win.
If they were going to cheat, why did they not get rid of McConnell?
Actually,
arguably far more dangerous a person than Trump.
Is he not Georgia?
No, he's Kentucky.
Kentucky, that's right. Oh,
he's been Kentucky
I think
forever,
that there was. I think that there was some attempts to. And it, yeah, I think there was an attempt to, and didn't work. But that's okay. The idea was to get evil Orange Man Bad out of the White House and put Weekend with Bernie's in.
Lich worse.
What's that?
So, just for the record, evil Orange Man Bad, but evil Lich from Kentucky worse.
Yeah, but not as much power.
If I were going to cheat in an election, I would probably get rid of my worst opponent, not my.
Now, here's your serious problem with that, though, is that Kentucky is going to be a much harder state to do anything like that with. And the reason is it's too embedded in red. A state that's too embedded in red, you're not going to be able to flip to a Democrat. A state that's on the edge because of a few big cities, you could flip. That's why they targeted Atlanta, they targeted Milwaukee, Detroit, and they targeted Philadelphia. That's why they targeted those particular cities. Yeah. And that's the argument. Do you at least not see here that there is enough evidence to merit investigating?
There's plenty of evidence at any rate to investigate one way or another. I don't care. Investigate all you want. But it's entirely possible that people just hate Trump. They just hate him. They don't like him.
Why do you have 10 miles of cars when he does a rally?
Because that's a minority of people.
It's not. Dude,
10 miles of cars can be done with a minority of people.
No.
You're looking at his entire base right there in one spot.
Okay, let me ask you this question.
Still a whole bunch of
Who did better at their national convention, Trump or Biden? And why do you think that is?
Don't know. Didn't watch either one of them because I don't care.
Okay. Biden got basically, if anybody goes against Biden, we're going to kick you out. And they accepted it because whatever. Trump received an enthusiastic 97% of the Republican vote.
Still don't care.
Yeah. Here's the thing. You may not care, but the point is people in the Republican Party do like Trump. And a large number of independents do like Trump. The reason is Trump did legitimately good things for the country. You just wouldn't know that if you've only watched CNN or Fox News or any of the other mainstream guys.
Well, then I'll save you this. I haven't watched news in 4 years because all of it is junk.
I
Every
agree with
last
you.
little bit of it. All
I agree
of
with
it
you.
is junk.
So why do you think
forget it.
so many people?
OAN,
So why
forget
do
it.
you think so many people hate Donald Trump?
Why? Because he's a piece of crap. He's been a piece of crap.
On what? On what basis?
On what basis? Ripping off his contractors. Let's start there.
Okay.
Ripping off contractors. He routinely ripped off contractors and put them in court to the point where he outmoneyed them.
Okay.
So now he doesn't have to pay them.
Okay.
Okay. This is frequent. There's large numbers of contractors he's ripped off personally, himself.
Okay.
Union City. Did you know?
Okay, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Because any business, any business stuff, any business guy is going to have this. These are business things. What did he do in this country as president that was so bad?
I can't even tell you. I can't even tell you what he did.
Let me tell you a few things. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Number one, lowest black unemployment rate ever.
That's pretty easy to do when you can't get unemployment anymore because they stop counting you.
No, that is not the case, because the black average income rose highest it's ever been because their employment was high. Okay, number two.
It sounds like a really good talking point.
Number two.
But if you double it, it's still not much.
Okay. Number two, Donald Trump managed to broker a peace deal between the Jews and the Arabs.
How?
That's a good question, but he is the only guy to do it in 2,000 years. Okay,
either way.
Number three.
Still don't care about that either because it's too far away from home.
Again, though, you're throwing out, these are legitimate things. Number three, he was able to get several third world countries to stop putting homosexuals to death.
Okay.
You know, homosexuals are still put to death multiple times. Donald Trump used his influence to stop those people from doing it. Donald Trump pulled more troops out of war situations than any other president in history.
Didn't that also result in the complete slaughter from the Kurds?
No. I think you're referring to when he pulled troops out of the one country, I forget which country it was. No, there was a very strategic reason he did that. Because did you know what? Syria. So did you know that why he did that? Do you hear you heard about the bad, he did all this. Do you hear why he did that?
Nope.
Here's the end result. He did that because there was a guy dug deep that they needed to take out. He pulled everybody out, which caused him to get reckless. In less than 1 day, they were able to take out that one guy without killing everybody else.
Good.
That's what he did. Okay, next.
Who else died because of that, though?
A couple of rabid terrorists. Who knows? All right, but you know what? It wasn't. It wasn't the hundreds of people that, possibly thousands of people that Obama killed in drone strikes.
Yeah, I don't care about Obama either. Again, not a Democrat.
Now
all presidents are figureheads.
How about next? Closer to home, he got rid of the individual mandate, which saved pretty much every middle class taxpayer a lot of money by getting rid of the individual mandate.
From what?
The individual mandate for the Obamacare law.
The
worst part of the Obamacare law is that it forced people to buy health insurance. What does that do? It causes health insurance to jack up their rates because everybody's got to have it. He got rid of the individual mandate. Result, health insurance rates go down and people do not get fined if they can't. If your choice is health insurance or food, what do you buy?
You buy food every time.
But here's the thing. Under Obama's plan, what happened is if you bought your food because you couldn't afford health insurance, guess what? You got a huge tax bill for not having health insurance. Trump got rid of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, he increased the standard deduction. Do you know what that one means?
The standard deduction from your taxes?
Correct.
Ours got reduced by a lot.
No, your
mine
standard
got
deduction
reduced
went
by
up.
a lot.
No, it didn't. The standard deduction is a number. It's a solid number, and I forget what it is for a married person.
You also can't count off any of her taxable expenses that she used to be able to tax off for students or stuff that she bought for her school.
That is incorrect.
That is absolutely correct. She couldn't write it off, period.
No, that is
Yes,
incorrect.
absolutely. I was right there when it happened.
Okay, who's your accountant? You need to fire your accountant and get a better
It's just
one.
H&R Block.
Yeah, fire H&R Block. They're not accountants. They're morons. Okay, they're morons with a little computer program. No, you can still write off. The only thing he changed is you could not take meal deductions. That's the only thing he changed regarding. So I couldn't go out and wine and dine somebody and write all that off. Like entertainment, it was. All of the other type of stuff you had, yeah, you can still write all that off. I do it every day. I mean, I wrote off my equipment. I wrote off all the stuff from my office. I wrote off.
Oh, I wrote off all
pens,
kinds of
pencils,
crap
all
for
sorts
me.
of stuff.
I'm talking for Kristen herself. If
Mhm.
she buys school supplies for her students, she can no longer write that off. Period.
I believe she can actually.
No, she cannot.
I will disagree with you on the basis that I use real accountants and use H&R Block.
Fair enough.
I pay hefty accountants to get the best stuff that I can get. All right. But these were
But
all
even
things
still,
that Trump
With
did
that, I
good
was
in
able to write off
office.
all kinds of crap
All right.
because I have a business.
Yeah. All right. So that's kind of your bottom line is that he did a boatload of good stuff in office. And all the media can do is run around and scream, "Orange man bad! Orange man bad!" And so that's what goes through the minds of a lot of people. And it
Orange man
causes this great
con artist.
dichotomy. The bottom line is this. We're going back to the concluding points of this debate. There is enough evidence to investigate. And all that people on the right are saying is, please, let's investigate.
Well, here,
the people on the
coming
left
through
is
the
blocking
independent,
that.
let's go ahead and investigate.
Sure.
And then the chips will fall where they may. I don't really give a crap either way because presidents are figureheads. The people who are really running the show don't let their faces really be seen, or at least they're not mentioned as much. He's the guy that everybody blames.
Yeah, I agree with that, but that's one of the things that Trump did very well is he drained a lot of the crap out and basically got rid of a lot of the stuff that a lot of those behind the scene players.
He appointed flunky after flunky to big positions like the FCC and the post office.
I'll agree with the FCC moron. I'm throwing a celebration on Agent Pie's celebration. On his retirement, I'm going to go and buy a king-size pack of Reese's peanut butter cups somewhere and gobble them down in celebration. I don't know much about the post office guy.
Somebody needs to smash his cups.
Yeah.
Got rid of and destroyed mail sorting machines. Big ones.
Yeah. Huge I mean, ones. They haven't been gotten rid of
mass amounts of mail. And coincidentally, he's heavily invested in, I want to say FedEx or
I don't know.
What's the other one?
We'll go ahead and let that one lay where it is. Sure, he's had some bad appointments. I'll agree with that.
A lot of bad appointments.
The point is, the point is though, is he is not a politician that does all of these corrupt things politicians do. But if Biden is in office, you can better believe it's going to be political corruption back to normal. And there's not been as much under Trump.
Wanted Biden, but none of us wanted Trump either.
No, I disagree with that. I think a lot of people enthusiastically voted for Trump. There's a lot of people that unenthusiastically voted against him.
Voted against Trump as well, and it just happens to turn out it was a bigger number.
I don't know. We can't say that looking at the election results. We have to audit the election results because every single jurisdiction except those 5 places. Did you know this? Did you know that? Did you know that Biden won more? Hillary Clinton won more jurisdictions than Biden did. It's like 18 more jurisdictions Clinton won,
but not by the numbers.
No, by the numbers. By the numbers. Solid jurisdictions. Because what happened, the only reason Biden won the popular vote is because 5 select cities were mass flooded with votes. That was enough to flip the 5 states that those 5 cities were in. That's all we're saying is we did an investigation into just those 5 cities.
Well, then do it and quit pussyfooting.
That's fine. Because we are being blocked from doing it. That is the point.
Well, I myself am not blocking it.
All right.
Don't care.
So I think that's brought us longer run than we wanted to do. So final closing
an
point.
hour?
Yeah, that's like we're about 50 minutes in. So give us your final closing point.
Right. My final closing point: we probably should have been wearing tinfoil hats for this entire discussion.
Dang it! I got my hat.
And my alternate closing point: even with all these articles that you presented, I don't believe most of them because, like I said, most of the crap that's put out there is sensationalist headlines, grabbing attention, trying to sway your personal opinion, hopefully without thinking too much about it.
I got news for you, though. The only people throwing out sensationalist opinions are the people telling us that Biden won the election and stopped pussyfooting around and accept that Donald Trump, you lost. Those are the only groups pushing sensational headlines.
My sensational headline: do the recount, do the audit. And when we're done, it's probably going to remain exactly the way it is.
I doubt it. I will agree. Let's do the recount. Let's do the audit. But I don't think it's going to because we're talking.
I will bet you
the entire election was thrown by 5 cities who had massive Biden vote dumps at 4:00 in the morning after telling people to leave because voting was done. No supervision.
We'll put our money where our mouth is. I will bet you $1 American that it stays Biden.
I will accept the bet under the condition that those audits and recounts are done.
Okay, but they have to be done.
Sure.
And I'm fine with it.
Sounds good. All right. Well, there's our final thoughts. Despite all the yelling and talking over each other, I love my brother.
I do love my brother. Don't get it wrong. We are brothers. We came from the same family.
We're just completely different, you know.
Yeah,
so,
it's just
and maybe we can just say, hey, let's set aside some things sometimes and just get over it. Get over the fact that people think differently, right? All right. Yeah. Well, have a good one, Tim.
You too, Tom. We'll talk to you next time. TNT POV. We'll see you later.
All right.